Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of GMG Reviews. Today we're going to take a look at Forbidden Power, the latest campaign expansion for Warhammer Age of Sigmar that continues the story of Nagash, the Great Necroquake, and the Soul Wars. So this time around, the box actually comes with some terrain. I'm pretty excited about this because the Malign Portents campaign, while cool, wasn't really getting in a box. It was a separate book, and then there were some character models for all the Harbingers and stuff. And this time around, it's like all in one box. You're going to get 4 new endless spells, a new terrain piece, new rules for some of the new terrain pieces that are coming out, and also, of course, the core rulebook for running the campaign, with a little campaign like roster sheets, some tokens, and all the gubbins that you need to actually put everything together. So, really excited about this. You can, of course, see some battle reports about it today on my channel. Go up to the cards here. You can watch some games between myself and Owen from Game with the Cooler and Chris from Woods of War Game and Hobbies. We're going to be throwing down some 1,500 point games to just showcase the new rules and the new terrain and stuff as well, new endless spells. And we're going to do a review right now. So because there's stuff this time, not just a book, I'm going to show you all the models. If you want some more sort of like close-ups of them, there's some stuff about them on the paint table as well today. And yeah, and then we'll go through and actually look at all the rules and check out we're going to skip the story part. The story part's a big part of the book, but I'll do a synopsis and then jump right into the rules. New allegiance traits, new artifacts, new realm, and then some new battle plans as well. So here is Forbidden Power in all of its glory. You're going to get a whole bunch of stuff. So the one thing I will mention, because I don't know if anyone's mentioned this before, these endless spells and the terrain kit are all in gray plastic, which I wasn't expecting actually. After the last Malign Sorcery box set, I figured they would all be different colors, but they're not. They're in gray, so if you're one of those persons that doesn't paint their endless spells, yeah, you're going to have some gray stuff. So all of these spells can be used by any army. There's the Soul Scream Bridge to transport some folks around. Then over here, the Horrorghast, big picture of basically Nagash. Lokon the Soul Seeker, who's like the shard of like a dead god that will take you on a little ride in his boat, but you got to pay a cost. And then Shards of Valagar, which are some like the end caps or the obsidian, the death obsidian that Nagash makes. They have some uncommon effects on people standing nearby. And then over here, the Penumbral Engine, which was one of Hish's like machine works that Sigmar had reforged to try and hide the Storm Vaults. And yeah, they don't work so good after the Necroquake, and they have some sort of like instability, but they're a generic scenery piece that any army can buy for like 100 points. And they've given rules for the Hallowed Storm Throne, the Shattered Temple, and the Sigmarite Dais. And then when their powers combine, they create the Enduring Storm Vault. So actually these two, the Shattered Temple and the Hallowed Storm Throne, come together to make the Enduring Storm Vault. And it's like one big thing basically. So Devastator, and then over here, Sigmarite Dais, and then the Time-Worn Ruin, so the Scatter Train as well. So this whole Sigmarite train pack basically gets nice data cards in here as well. And I assume these will be free online. Because you buy or they might actually, I don't think they come with the train kits, but if you have the train kits, they're in this box set. You get a nice poster, which is actually the separator from the kits and the books. But I think it's a nice little thing. I mean, you could literally just put in a blank piece of paper to keep the sprues from damaging the book, but I like that they do a nice little poster instead, because that's a cool poster with Sigmar and Nagash staring each other down. You get a copy of the core rules, because you always do, some instructions, your book on Forbidden Power, and then all your tokens and stuff that you need for the various battle plans. They're going to be in the game. So there's the box all laid out. Let's get some books and some cards out and start looking at some rules. All right, so let's jump into some Forbidden Power. Now, my usual warning that goes out, I'm going to abuse this book, and I'm going to abuse this book basically so that you guys can see it better. Yeah, I'm going to flatten the spine. So I apologize. You can either see the book well, or I can be nice to the book. And those two things don't go together. So if you like being able to see the book, then such is the way it needs to be. That beautiful poster, reprinted here in the interior cover. And then some discussion about all the things happening currently in the timeline. So the Storm Vaults, what happened during the War Against Chaos and why everything got locked in the Storm Vault. Pretty much, oh geez, there's a lot of this. The background goes on for roughly half the book. I mean, actually more than half the book. The background goes on until page 66 out of 88. So roughly 3/4 of the book is going to be backgroundy stuff. It's beautifully illustrated. There's some new art, great new pictures of miniatures, and if you're a fan of the current lore, I would highly recommend it. I also like that they did this. They did a Dan Abnett style dramatis personae, so all of the characters involved in this part of the story, basically. Everything from Sigmar the God King, Teclis the Lord of Illumination, Grugni the Great Maker, the Smith God, and then Nagash, the Night Haunts. You've got Lady Olinder and Kurdos Valention, the Craven King. Basically, all of the newest characters. Like, they come out and are pretty important in this part of the book. And then for the next roughly 56 pages, it's going through all of that story. So everything that's been going on, what happens in the city of Ravens, Lethis, on a lake. And I think the big part I'm going to focus on here is actually going to be the map of the region, which is very cool because it actually gives you sort of a subset of where you are in this campaign. And it's a sort of a small city built inside the Realm of Death. So here it is. We got Stygics, which is this sort of like island in the Realm of Death, and then all of its major points. You got Lethis, the city, the Somber City. It's actually like populated by people. You know, it's got humans and elves and like Duarden, all that stuff. Basically, Sigmar's followers living there as like an enclave. You've got Hadron Car, which is a whirlway. So the Idneth are here as well. And it's said that after Nagash basically fled from his defeat in the war against Chaos, he hid at the bottom of the Sea of Dransora. So this ocean surrounding this giant island is pretty significant in that it's one of those places where, again, where Slaanesh wouldn't be able to find you. The waters are black, but like infinitely deep, and there's no sound and no noise, and perfect for the Realm of Death. Then you got the Deific Mons, the Castle of the Gods, stands silent and cold. Basically this giant castle at the top of the mountain in the middle of the island. That's totally empty. Castle Drakmir, which was once a bastion of light, it's now claimed by the flesh-eating ghouls. So you have an entire like enclave of ghouls basically living on this island. And then you got Grotz. There's the Grotskull Mines. There's actually like Grotz there. The Mirror of the Flayed Skull. You've got Port Carathos. I don't know. They don't detail all of these places, but the major ones are pretty cool. Castle Drakmir is over here. And then down here, Lethis. This is the important one. This is the Sigmaran city. They've actually got sort of symbols. So you can see this one is Order, and the Stormcast live there. This one's Duarden, and this one over here is the Flesh Eater Courts. And then over here, of course, is the Sylvaneth. So it kind of sets the scene as to what's been going on. This city has been under siege, basically, since the Necroquake, and there is a giant storm vault. Oh yeah, and the Skaven are here. The Lair of the Skitter Claw. The siege has been going on, basically, since the Necroquake, because the penumbral engines, those big scenery pieces that you saw that were hiding all the storm vaults, have started to break down after the Necroquake. And so there's problems keeping that stuff hidden, and stuff is slipping out. And the rest of this is basically detailing how that all goes down, and the wars that get fought. And then it all culminates in the fact that the good guys get defeated. There's a fight, basically. The 11th hour kind of beat everyone, but the Necrovault gets broken open, and something gets out. They don't really define what it is, but a giant great evil is unleashed upon the realms. Something that Sigmar actually couldn't destroy, and so he hid it in the Storm Vault instead. And there's this bit right here is actually a conversation between Teclis and Sigmar about what that means and what's he gonna do about it. And then Sigmar asks him, "Can you unleash the elves?" And Teclis says, "No, you can do it yourself, Sigmar." And Sigmar's like, "Fine, I'll do it myself." And so yeah, he summons forth his greatest generals, and they dive out of heavens basically, and they go back to fight death. And that's where it kind of leaves us. And so we get to all the terrain, all the color sections, get your hidden vaults, all the color sections and the various pieces of terrain, and then all the new, the endless spells, and then all the new actual terrain showcased as well. They feature all the armies that have like a major city on the maps. Here's the Skaven. Here's the Sylvaneth partying down with some legions of Nagash, or actually the new allegiance that is in this book that we will talk about in a minute. some painting stuff. And what I like about these painting tips is they're not specific, usually, like a lot of times it's specific to a kit. These are more specific to doing terrain in general, and the things you would need to do so. But of course they feature the terrain kits and the endless spells as good examples of how to do what we're doing here. Some cool basing stuff. How to get golden verdigris skulls and bones. The Defenders of Lethis. So now this is cool because this is a new allegiance. It's a bit like the, was it Fires of Hammer something? There's a fire campaign, the campaign with the cities, the free people cities that combine army lists. That's what the Defenders of Lethis does. It basically allows you to take the Dwarden, Fireslayers, the Stormcast, and the Idoneth Deepkin as a single army, not under just the Order banner, but with their own allegiance traits and artifacts and all kinds of cool beans, new stuff. And then likewise, there is the Court of Sorrow, allowing you to basically, it's like a baby version of Legions of Nagash. It gets most of Legions of Nagash rules, but also includes a bunch of these special characters that would need to hang together. The only problem is if you want to take a Mortarch, it has to be, what's her face? The Mortarch of Grief. You can't take anybody else. But the Craven King can be there too. So if you're taking a Mortarch at all, the first one has to be her, Lady Olinder. And the other Mortarchs are just basically hanging out. But it's designed to sort of combine the Night Haunts with all this other stuff. And so here we go, War for the Stormvault. So we're into rules now. This is pretty key because it's adding in a bunch of allegiances, 2 allegiances in particular. Mercenaries, which is kind of interesting because the mercenaries can be taken by anyone. And they count against your allied allowance, but because they're mercenaries, they'll fight for chaos, they'll fight for death, they'll fight for anybody if they can pay, which is, it'll be interesting. And there's not a lot of direction about how this is meant to be used. So my assumption is this is all pitched battle legal. This is all match play legal. This has got point values, and these are just allegiances like anything else. So first is Realm of Battle, a new one, which is the Region of War Stygics, which we'll be playing, of course, in the games we played today. There's some new magic. So Wizards on the following spell. The Pall of Doom, cast on a 6, pick an enemy unit with an 18. Subtract 2 from the bravery characteristic of the unit until you next hero phase. Has to be visible as well. Special realm commands. Honor the Dead. You can use this command ability at the start of the combat phase. If you do so, pick a friendly unit that is within 3 inches of a friendly hero or 12 inches of your general and roll a dice. If the dice roll is less than the number of models that have been slain from the unit you picked, you can add 1 to the attack characteristic of the weapons used by that unit in that combat phase. Pretty cool. Soul Force Sacrifice. This one's really cool. You can use this command ability at the start of your hero phase. If you do so, pick a friendly unit that's within 3 inches of your general, allocate any number of wounds to the unit. You can heal 1 wound that's been allocated to your general for each wound that you allocate. Oof. So there you go, Alariel. Let's just suck up some Dryads and get all our wounds back. Summon 10 Dryads, get 10 wounds back. Why not? For 1 CP. And then your Realm Sphere prayer, your priests are going to know this in addition to the other prayers. Communion with the Ancient Dead. In your hero phase, 1 friendly model that knows this prayer can chant it. If it does, make a prayer by rolling a dice. On a 1, the model chanting the prayer suffers a mortal wound. On a 2 to 5, the prayer is not answered. On a 6, the prayer is answered, and you get a CP. So it's just a 6 plus get a CP as a prayer. Pretty cool. And then your Realm Escape feature, Energies of the Midnight Tomb. If your casting roll for a spell is a double, it's successfully cast and can't be unbound. So crazy magic in Stygics. Doesn't even say it has to be successfully cast, just that if it's a double, it's successfully cast. So everything successfully casts on a double. Bananas. And can't be unbound. Playing in Stygics. All right, so here's the first one. So the allegiance abilities for the Lethisian army. So from the city of Lethis, this is the Order defenders that are basically palling around. So the Lethisian army, when you're choosing your army, you can decide it's a Lethisian army and has the Lethisian keyword allegiance instead of another allegiance. If you do so, all units in your army gain the Lethisian defender keyword. A Lethisian army can only include units that have 1 or more of the following keywords: Stormcast Eternal, Idoneth Deepkin, Caradhran Overlords, Fireslayers, or Excelsior Warpriest. In addition, it cannot include any units with the following keywords: Hammers of Sigmar, Vostarg, or Volturnus. So those folks won't show up. So basically all your Hammers of Sigmar special characters that are in the Stormcast Codex won't show up because this is a different chamber basically hanging out here, a different brotherhood, sorry. And then the Vorstag won't show up, and Volturnus, the character, won't show up. So that kind of makes sense because they're just not there narratively. Then you get your battle traits. In the Battle Shock phase, they're the Warriors of the Grand Necropolis. Reroll Battle Shock tests for friendly Lethesian Defender units. In addition, add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by melee weapons by human Lethesian Defender and Dwarven Lethesian Defender units that target enemy models that made a charge move that turn. So basically, if you get charged, you get +1 to hit those charging targets if you're human or Dwarven. But not, I don't get it. Why not fish? Why don't I guess they get this. The Achelian Phalanx add 1 to the move characteristic of Achelian Lethesian Defender units. So everyone basically who has that keyword gets 1 move. In addition, add 1 to charge rolls for Achelian Lethesian Defender units. You get faster. Now remember, you are giving up all your other allegiance traits for this though, so you don't get all your Brotherhoods, you don't get any of your Idnith Tides of Battle, and you don't get any of your Fireslayer extra jank, because you're not using that allegiance. So this has to basically satisfy for all those things. And then you get a new command ability, Onyx Shield Wall. You can use this command ability at the start of the enemy combat phase. If you do so, pick a friendly Lethesian Defender Liberator unit, wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Lethesian Defender Stormcast Eternal Hero. Until the end of that phase, add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target that Liberator's unit. However, they cannot make pile-in moves. So you can lock your shields and get +1 save, which you could double down with a Lord Lord Castellant if you wanted to get a 2+, rerolling 1s. I mean, you can't pile in, but if you're getting charged, that's pretty cool. And then your command traits, you get a Raven Priest if you're a worshipper of Morda. You get to communicate with the ancient gods. This general gains the priest keyword. If this general already has the priest keyword, it knows 2 prayers of Morda instead of 1, and there's prayers later on. Next page. Warden of the Onyx Gate, Solemn Soul. Do not take battle shock tests for friendly Lethesian Defender units wholly within 12 of the general. It's pretty cool. And then Sinister Aura. Add 1 to this general's wound characteristic. In addition, subtract 1 from the bravery characteristic of enemy units when they're within 6 inches of this general. So you're spooky. You have artifacts of power. So first is the Crown of Raven Feathers. Roll a dice each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to that bearer. On a 5+, that wound or mortal wound is negated. So 5+ wound shrug. That's pretty gross for a free artifact. Silvered Blade, this one's neat. It's basically the Relic Blade, so add 1 to the damage characteristic of the weapon. Add 2 instead if all of that weapon's attacks target a death unit. So +2 damage to target death units. So you'd have a damage 3 Lord Celestant with his, he's got I don't know, 4 or 6 attacks with his Relic Sword or whatever. Ugh. Pretty good. Flask of Lethesian Darkwater. This one's neat. Once per battle at the start of the combat phase, the bearer can use this artifact. If they do so, you can heal D6 wounds. So a D6 wound heal, that's pretty neat. Then you get your Prayers of Morda, and of course you become a Priest of Morda over here if you decide on that command trait. The first one is Morda's Resurrection. In your hero phase, 1 friendly model that knows this prayer can chant it. Roll a dice. On a 1 or 2, it's not answered. On a 3+, the prayer is answered. If the prayer is answered, pick a friendly Lethesian Defender unit wholly within 18. You can return a number of models to the unit that have a combined wound characteristic equal to or less than a roll of D3. So your Order Army can get some healing, which is kind of neat. Morda's Eye. In your hero phase, 1 friendly model that knows the prayer can chant it. If it does so, make a prayer by rolling a dice. On a 1 to 2, the prayer is not answered. On a 3+, it is. If the prayer is answered, pick an enemy unit within 18 inches of the model chanting the prayer. Subtract -1 from hit rolls for attacks made by that unit until the start of your next hero phase. A 3+ -1 to hit is pretty baller. And there's a way to get another -1 to hit too with the new Endless Spells. So that's neat. And then Morda's Embrace. In your hero phase, 1 friendly model that knows this prayer can chant it. If it does so, make a prayer roll. On a 1 or 2, nothing happens. 3+, the prayer is answered. If the prayer is answered, you can reroll save rolls of 1 for attacks that target friendly units wholly within 12 inches of the model chanting this prayer until your next hero phase. Not great with Liberators around because they typically reroll 1s anyway, but it does mean that you could have rerolling 1s to save for things like Paladins and all the other cool Stormcast stuff, and on top of that, without having a Mystic Shield up, you could even have it for all your fish stuff. So super neat, but remember, you're not going to have Tides of Battle, so no free cover. Next page, we got the Allegiance abilities for the Legion of Grief. Now remember, this is kind of combining Night Haunt stuff with Legions of Nagash stuff, But you're not getting either of those, so you're not getting your 10 plus charge becomes striking the charge phase stuff for your Night Haunts, and you're missing out on basically the rest of their allegiance abilities and artifacts as well. So worth thinking about that those allegiance abilities won't be available to you. So your Infernal Host, Legion of Grief Army. When you are choosing your army, you can decide if it's a Legion of Grief army and that has Legion of Grief allegiance instead of another allegiance. If you do so, all the units in your army gain the Legion of Grief keyword. A Legion of Grief army can only include units that have one or more of the following keywords: Deadwalkers, Death Lords, Death Mages, Death Rattle, or Night Haunt. If it includes any Mortarks, it must also include Lady Olinder, and she must be your general. So if you're having Mortarks, she has to show up and she has to be your general. Then we get the Infernal Host, your battle traits. The Unquiet Dead, it's basically your grave sites, and that's it. Invigorating Aura, same thing. At the start of your hero phase, pick a friendly summonable unit within 9 inches of a grave site. You can heal D3 wounds, or return slain models with a combined wound characteristic of equal to or less than D3. Deathless Minions, it's your 6+ shrug in your heroes. Aura of Grief, subtract -1 from the bravery characteristic of enemy models within 6 inches of any friendly Legion of Grief units. And then command ability, the Endless Legion, use this command ability at the end of your movement phase. If you do so, pick a grave site that's within 9 inches of your general, and then pick a friendly summonable unit that's been destroyed, set it up wholly within 9. So it's your recycle and bring back units. So, I mean, nothing new really. It's just a bit of a combination with the Aura of Grief with the current Legion of Nagash rules. So then you got your command traits. The Amethyst Glow. This general is a wizard, can attempt to cast 1 spell in the hero phase and attempt to unbind 1 spell in the enemy hero phase. It knows Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield spells. If you're already a wizard, you know an extra spell from the Lore of Sorrows. Then Vassal of the Craven King. If this general is on your battlefield, each time you spend a command point, roll a d6. On a 5+, you get an extra command point. Tragic Emanation, subtract 2 from the bravery characteristic of enemy units while they're within 12 inches of the general. So that would combine with the Aura of Grief if you're within 6 for -3 bravery. So lots of bravery mods here, which is bad. That 12-inch bubble of don't run away on your general is pretty cool if you're playing the Defenders of Lethis. Artifacts of Power, Gravesand Gem. This one's pretty cool. In your hero phase, you can either inflict a mortal wound on 1 enemy hero within 6 inches of the bearer, or you can heal 1 wound that's been allocated to the bearer. I like any kind of automatic healing. Relics of Anguish, the Gothazari Mortuary Candle. Subtract 1 for hit rolls made with missile weapons that target the bearer. Good if you're on a big monster or something huge. And then the Soul Drain Pendant. At the end of the combat phase, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches of the bearer. On a 4+, they take a mortal wound. And then your Spell Lores, the Lore of Sorrows. You can roll for one of the, or choose a roll for wizards in a Legion of Grief army. You have the Dread Withering. Dread Withering is a cast of 5. If cast, pick an enemy unit within 18 inches invisible. Subtract -1 from save rolls for attacks that target that unit until the start of your next hero phase. So you just pick out a unit to die, basically. That's a great spell. Whale of Doom, casting value 8. If successfully cast, roll a die for each enemy unit within 6 inches of the caster. On a 4+, they take D3 mortal wounds. Kind of like the Explosion of Spites on the Branch Witch, except a little more accurate, I guess, the 4+. Could spike high, though, of course, with the Spites. And then Shroud of Terror. Shroud of Terror has a casting value of 8. If you successfully cast it, pick 1 enemy unit within 12 inches of the caster that's visible to them. Subtract D3 from their bravery characteristic until your next hero phase. So combine Shroud of Terror with Tragic Emanation with Aura of Grief, and all of a sudden you're at 4 to 6 basically penalty to leadership if you want to be on a unit. So you could just completely nuke the leadership of a unit and then hopefully explode them in the battle shock phase at the end, or force CPs to be spent basically to stop it. And then this one's neat. This one right here, Mercenary Companies. So to include a mercenary company in your army, you must first pick a mercenary company to hire. A maximum of 1 mercenary company can be hired by any army. If a mercenary company is hired in your army, 1 out of every 4 units you include in your army can either be an ally or a mercenary unit from the company. All mercenary units gain the mercenary keyword. Mercenary units are treated as part of your army, except that they are not included when working out your army's allegiance, and can therefore be part of a different Grand Alliance or a faction from the rest of your army. In addition, a mercenary unit cannot be the Army's general, cannot use or benefit from the Army's allegiance abilities, and cannot be a named character. Reinforcements. If a mercenary unit uses an ability or spell that adds units to your army, the unit that is added to your army gains the mercenary keyword. They do not count against the limit of the number of mercenary units you can include in your army once they're on the table. And then War Scroll battalions cannot include any mercenary units unless that mercenary units in the battalion are from the same mercenary company. So you have to all be mercenaries to form it. And then pitched battles. In a pitched battle, the points you have available to spend on the allied units can be spent on mercenary units, although any points spent on mercenary units are deducted from the total you have available to spend on allied units, and vice versa. Mercenary units are not included when working out the number of battle line units in your army, but they do count towards the maximum number of leader, behemoth, and artillery units that can be included in your army. So they don't count as battle line. They can come from your mercenary allowance if you want them to, and 1 in every 4 units in your army can be mercenary. So this is a big change. This is a big new thing. If you include any mercenary units in your army, the following rules apply during the battle. Disruptive presence. If your army includes any mercenary units at the start of your hero phase in the first battle round, you do not receive a command point. So no command point for the first turn. And that's really it. And right now there are 2 mercenary companies available. So first is the Greyfeared Lodge. The Grizzled Pragmatic Greyfeared Durarden will fight for any cause. You could fight for chaos with them. That's pretty cool. You could fight for destruction with them. You could fight for death. And just have Fire Slayers in your army. And if you pick this company to be hired by your army, you can include Fire Slayers units in your army except as mercenary units with the following exception. Auric Runefathers cannot be included as mercenary units. So no Runefather on a big Magmadroth and no Foot one either. And then fulfill one's oaths. Add 1 to the hit rolls for attacks made by melee weapons by Fire Slayer's mercenary units that target enemy units that made a charge move in the same turn. However, from the start of the 3rd battle round on, subtract 1 from the bravery characteristic of friendly Fire Slayer's mercenary units while they're not wholly within 18 inches of your general. So they have to stay near your general. They start losing bravery, basically. But if they get charged, +1 to hit. And then the Tenebrous Court Mercenaries. This one's so weird because I can't imagine an Order army with this stuff in it. So basically, delusionary and unpredictable, the Tenebrous Court fights with untamed savagery. If you pick this mercenary company to be hired by your army, you can include Flesh Eater Courts units in your army as mercenary units, with the following exceptions. Royal Terrorgeist cannot be included as mercenary units. Royal Zombie Dragons cannot be included as mercenary units. So you can't include any of the little guys, the big guys, but you include all the little guys, including the ones that can summon new units. So buy yourself the Crypt King or whatever and have him bring in some dudes. Get free points, basically, if you want. That's pretty baller. So they don't count against anything basically when you bring them in, and it says they get the mercenary keyword as soon as they're summoned. I think that was actually put in probably just for this section here. And then Frightful Allies, add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by Flesh Eater Court mercenaries that made a charge move in the same turn. However, they cannot make retreat moves. They're too busy feasting on corpses, so they never fall back. That is such a weird, cool ally. I want to play games with my Stormcast where they hire a bunch of cannibals to go fight for them. And then the Penumbral Engine. So an army of any allegiance can include a Penumbral Engine terrain feature. After territories have been set up, but before armies are set up, you can set up the Penumbral Engine wholly within your territory, more than 12 inches from enemy territory, and more than 1 inch from any other terrain feature. If both players can set up a terrain feature before armies are set up, they must roll off. The winner can choose the order in which they're set up. Pitch battles. In a pitch battle, the points available to spend on allied units can be spent on Penumbral Engines, so it counts as an ally. Although any points spent on Penumbral Engines are deducted from the total you have available to spend on allies, and vice versa. So it can come out of your allies allowance because it doesn't share the same keyword as you, and anyone can basically take it. And so let's actually look at, before we move on here, let's actually look at the card for the Penumbral Engine because it's kind of neat, and it does some cool stuff. It's whoa, here we go. Senior War Scroll. A Penumbral Engine is a single terrain feature, and it's an obstacle. Repercussions of the Necroquake. At the start of the first battle round, after determining who has the first turn, roll a dice and consult the table to determine which function all the Penumbral terrain features on the battlefield gain for the duration of the battlefield or the battle. So if you and your opponent both take one, they all do the same thing. They're all basically broken the same way. So on a 1 to 3, the Orrery of Obfuscation still works. Basically, it's working as intended. Reroll save rolls of 1 for attacks that target units wholly within 12 inches of Penumbral terrain features. It's a pretty cool ability. But then on a 4 to 6, it goes back to its old job, which is the Orrery of Illumination. At the start of your hero phase, you receive an extra command point if any friendly heroes are within 12 inches of the terrain feature. So neither one's bad. But then deteriorating state at the start of each battle round after the first roll of die. On a 1 to 4, nothing happens. But on a 5 6, it switches functions, and you basically replace the previous function with the old one. So it's a pretty cool piece. It's 100 points. I'll just tell you that now before we get too far into it. And a lot of the terrain stuff in the Stormvault campaign actually has these on the table to start off with. So, Stormvault campaigns, the campaign rules. What are we trying to do here? Well, you're trying to conquer Stormvaults, and the Grand Stormvault can be conquered after all the Stormvault sacristies are conquered. During the campaign, players will first battle for the control of lesser Stormvaults, known as Stormvault sacristies, until they've got enough power to march upon the Grand Stormvault. Before the campaign begins, you can decide among your group where in the Mortal Realms these Stormvaults are located, so they don't have to be located here. Right? Stygics is not necessarily the place you have to run the campaign. And you can choose any mortal realm from the rulebooks to actually set your campaign in. They can be hidden in a single realm or spread across multiple realms. Mustering your army. At the start of a Stormvault campaign, each player chooses an army allegiance and a hero that will be the general for the duration of the campaign. Players note down their army allegiance, which hero will be their general on the campaign roster, because you're going to get basically buffs when you play games. Players must use their army allegiance and general during each battle for the campaign, but are otherwise free to change the composition of their army between their battles. If your general is slain, it's assumed that they survive their injuries and live to fight in the next battle, so they recover from their injuries between games. Awakened artifacts. During your first battle of the Stormvault campaign, whether or not you win, your army discovers a powerful relic in the Stormvault that you fought your game in. Known as an awakened artifact, it can be wielded by the hero, by a hero from your army in the subsequent battles. Each of the artifacts is an artifact of power, and its strength will grow the more the hero wields it in battle. We'll talk about that in a bit. And then fighting battles. Players are free to challenge each other to different battles, and there's 9 battle plans available for this campaign, 8 representing the Stormvault sacristies, and the final one representing the Grand Stormvault. Of the Stormvault sacristy battle plans, 4 are pitch battles, 4 are narrative battles, and before each battle, players roll off, and the winner chooses to roll on either of the 2 tables. If the battle plan has different player roles, such as attacker and defender, the player who has conquered the least Stormvaults can choose. If the amount of Stormvault sacristies conquered by the player is tied, the players roll off and the winner decides the role they'll take. And then you conquer them. A player who won a major or minor victory in a battle plan is said to have conquered that Stormvault sacristy. They then roll on the Stormvault sacristy's table opposite to see what reward they receive. And a player receives a reward, they mark it off in their campaign roster. So I'm going to give you a peek at the campaign roster right now. It's this right here. And basically, once you've played your first game, you get your artifact of power. You can win games or use it in battle to check off boxes on it, and then each sacristy that you're trying to conquer, you're going to check off here as well. That's really it. So your pitch battles, if you're going to play those, there's the Penumbral Domain, the Guardian Spirits, the Sorcerer's Streams, and Ebb and Flow. And then the narrative ones are Lying in Wait, Hold the Chamber, Unlock the Vault, and the Sunken Temple. And then 1s and 6s, the player who's conquered the most or the least sacristies will choose the battle plan. And then your rewards for the sacristies, the Sacristy of Lokon, because each of these basically is, each of the sacristies is related to one of the endless spells, which is pretty cool. So the Sacristy of Lokon, in the next battle, the first time you attempt to cast Summon Lokon the Soul Seeker, that spell is automatically cast and cannot be unbound. In addition, if you're using pitch battle rules in your next battle, 1 Lokon the Soul Seeker endless spell can be included for 0 points. You get a free endless spell, basically. Sacristy of Bones, same thing for the Soul Scream Bridge. Sacristy of Ghasts, same thing for the Horrorghast. Sacristy of the Valgar, same thing for the Shards of Valgar. And then Sacristy of Awakening, your army's awakened artifact immediately gains a level. Reroll this result if your army does not yet have an awakened artifact. And then Sacristy of a Dark Blessing, add 1 to your general's wound characteristic for the rest of the campaign. So basically you can get free endless spells, your artifact can go up in power, and you can get an extra wound. And then awakened artifacts, these are pretty cool. Pick one of the awakened artifacts below, and you'll carry it for the rest of the campaign. You receive this awakened artifact in addition to any other artifacts of power your army can normally have, but otherwise this artifact follows all the normal rules for artifacts of power. Your awakened artifact must be taken by the same hero in each subsequent battle, so you attach it to them. This means that if it's given to a hero who's not your general, the hero must be included in your army in each subsequent battle in the campaign. Awakened artifacts start at the first level and can gain levels as described below. So Geistbane, after each battle, Geistbane gains a power level of 3 if more enemy models were slain by attacks by the bearer. Sorry, it gains a level if 3 or more people were slain. So in Geistbane, you're trying to kill at least 3 models, and then you'll gain a level. So first level, the weapon's rend improves by 1. Second level, add 1 to their attacks. Third level, if the unmodified hit roll for it's a 6, it gives a mortal wound in addition to any of their normal damage. And then fourth level, improve its rend by 3 instead of 1. And then fifth battle level, add 3 to their attacks characteristic instead of 1. So at the end, it's 6s or mortal wounds. It has +3 attacks and rend of additional -3. Oh my god. Shield of the Pale Knight. After each battle, the Shield of the Pale Knight receives a power level if 5 or more successful save rolls were made by attacks that target the bearer. First level, you can reroll save rolls of 1. Second level, add 1 to their wounds. Third level, if an attack targets the bearer with a weapon damage characteristic of 2 or more, subtract 1 from its damage. Fourth level, reroll save rolls of 1 that target friendly units wholly within 12 of the bearer. And fifth level, each time the save roll for an attack targets the bearer at a modified 6, you can heal a wound allocated to the bearer. So that's a pretty baller suit of armor. Your Aether Beast Pinion. After each battle, the Pinion gains a power level if 3 or more charge moves or run moves were made by the bearer. So at first level, you can run and still charge. Second level, add 3 to the bearer's move characteristic. Third level, add 1 to the charge rolls for friendly units wholly within 12 inches of the bearer at the start of your charge phase. And fourth level, the bearer can retreat and still charge later in the same turn. Fifth level, add 6 to the bearer's move characteristic instead of 3 inches. And in addition, the bearer can fly. Then you've got the Hex Flame Pendant. At first level, it gains a level if 3 or more hexes were placed in the enemy units by the bearer, so it's a wizardy one. First level of your hero phase, in your hero phase, the bearer can attempt to place a hex on one enemy unit within 18 inches. To do so, roll a die. On a 4+, place it's placed successfully. Subtract 1 from hit and wound rolls for attacks made by that unit that has any hexes placed on it. Oh my gosh. A unit with a hex placed on it can attempt to lift the hex in their hero phase. If they do so, roll a die. Add 1 to the roll for each friendly priest within 12 inches. On a 6+, it's lifted and its effects no longer apply. Oh, that hexing is horrifying. -1 to hit and wound on a 4+ to someone within 18. And the unit 6 to get rid of it, or a 5 with a priest. That is absolutely horrifying. And sorry, it can go on anybody. It's not a wizard. I thought the hexes meant that spells need to be cast. Second level, the range has increased to 24 inches. Third level, half the move characteristic for units with hexes placed on them. Oh my god. Fourth level, the dice roll to determine if a hex successfully placed on an enemy is 3+ instead of 4+. Fifth level, at the start of your hero phase, enemy units with any hexes take D3 mortal wounds. That is a horrifying magic item. Realmstone Wand. After each battle, the Realmstone Wand gains a power level if 5 or more spells were successfully cast by the bearer and not unbound. So there you go, so that's the wizardy one. At first level, the bearer can attempt to cast 1 spell in your hero phase if they were a wizard. If the bearer is already a wizard, they can attempt to cast an extra spell in your hero phase. Second level, +2 to cast. Third level, each time this model is affected by a spell or endless spell, roll a die. On a 2+, ignore the effects of the spell in this model. In addition, if this model is affected by a spell, not an endless spell, and the roll to ignore the effect was a 4+, the caster takes D3 mortal wounds after the effects are resolved. Fourth level, you can reroll casting rolls for friendly wizards within 12 inches of the bearer. And fifth level, the bearer knows all the spells known by all wizards on the battlefield. I would be friendly and enemy. That is horrifying. And then Life Stealer, pick one of the bearer's melee weapons to be the Life Stealer. After each battle, Life Stealer gains a power level if you healed 5 or more wounds that have been allocated to the bearer. First level, if the wound roll for the attack made by this Life Stealer is an unmodified 6, you can heal 1 wound that's been allocated to the bearer. Second level, each time an enemy hero is slain by this attack made by the Life Stealer, add 1 to Life Stealer's attack characteristic until the end of the battle. It gets crazier. Third level, the bearer fights at the start of the combat phase before the players pick any other units to fight in that combat phase. Fourth level, if your hero phase, you can pick 1 friendly unit wholly within 6 inches of the bearer to be sacrificed. If you do so, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, but you can add 1 to the damage characteristic of Life Stealer at the end of the battle, so you can just stab it and make it more damagey. And then fifth level, subtract 1 from wound rolls for attacks made by enemy units while they're within 12 inches of the bearer. That's a pretty good sword too. These awakened artifacts are pretty great. And then we're into our battle plans. I'm not going to ruin these because I think that they're more fun to discover for yourselves, but obviously they end in this one right here, which is the Grand Storm Vault, designed to be played on the giant new Storm Vault piece of terrain. And that's it. Your endless spells. So you've got all your casting, all the general rules basically for endless spells because they're not in the core rulebook. And then pitch battle profiles. The Horrorghast is 60 points. Luck on the Soul Stealer is 60. Shards of Valgar 40. Soul Screen Bridge is 80. And the penumbral engine, of course, scenery piece is 100. And that's it. So let's look at actually some of the rules for those guys right now, because you've just seen their point values. So the Soul Scream Bridge, this one was 80 points. It can be a single endless spell with 2 models, and if it's dispelled, kill both models. Summon it on a 6. If successfully cast, set up a model wholly within 6 of the caster, and then set another one wholly within 12 of the first. Deathly Passage at the start of your movement phase. Friendly units wholly within 6 inches of one Soul Scream Bridge can move across it. If they do so, remove that unit from the battlefield and set it up wholly within 6 inches of the other Soul Scream Bridge, and more than 9 from enemy units, and it counts as their move. And then Nightmarish Construct. Subtract 1 from the bravery characteristic of enemy units while they're within 6 inches of a Soul Scream Bridge. It doesn't affect death units. And if your battle is taking place in the realm of death, the second Soul Scream Bridge can be wholly within 24 instead of 12. So in the games we're playing, they can be 24 inches apart, and you can basically walk in your movement phase wholly within 6 of either one, and just like span the table. Then you've got your Shards of Valgar. This is probably my favorite one of the group. It's 2 models and cast on a 5. If successfully cast, set the first one up wholly within 6 of the caster, and the second wholly within 12 of the first. And has Ensnaring Soul Drain. At the start of the movement phase, draw a line between the 2 of them, imaginary, it's 1 millimeter wide, from the closest points on the 2 bases. Each unit passed across by this line is ensnared for the end of that turn. Have the movement characteristic of a unit that's ensnared. In addition, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by units that are ensnared. And then Twilight Translocation. At the start of the battle round, after determining who has the first turn, the players must roll off. The winner can remove 1 Shard of Valagar model from the battlefield and set it up anywhere in the battlefield wholly within 12 inches of the other shard. So you can move it around to affect different units. And then Empowered by Shish, in your battles taking place in the realm of death, the first Shards of Valagar model can be set up wholly within 12 instead of wholly within 6. So it's a cool snare for putting out -1 to hit. Lokon the Soul Seeker. This one's pretty cool too. It's another movement ability. Cast on a 6, set it up wholly within 12 of the caster. And then it's predatory and can fly. Navigate the Deathly Tides. While this model is set up, the player who set it up can immediately move it. Empowered by Shish. If your battle is taking place in the realm of death, it can move 18 instead of 12. And then Soul Price. Before a player makes a move with this model, the player can pick a friendly unit wholly within 3 inches of this model, remove that unit and place it to one side. After its move, set that unit up again wholly within 3 inches of this model and more than 9 from any enemy units. Once that unit's been moved, 1 model from that unit is immediately slain. So you gotta pay a price to take a ride. But you can get a pretty far move, and it happens during the magic or during the hero phase. So you can still move again afterwards. And if you're playing the Realm of Death, it can move 18. So you can move pretty super fast with that. And if you're trying to move a spammy unit around, you just gotta cast it, make a hole for him basically, cast him into it, and then he can move those dudes around. And then the Horrorgeist, the big giant head. Incoming message from the big giant head. A Horrorgeist is a single model. It's a predatory endless spell. It can move up to 9 inches. It can fly. Cast on a 6. Set it up wholly within 12 of the caster. Prey on Fear. Subtract 1 from the bravery characteristic of units within 12. Subtract 2 if they're within 6. No immunities to it. If your battle's taking place in the Realm of Death, it can move 12 instead of 9. It's just another negative thing. So if you're using your Death Army from the crazy Sores Brigade, Legion of Sorrows, you could be -1 for being you, -2 for being near this thing, minus D3 for a spell, -2 more for the general's thing. Horrifying. It's really good. And then we got our train pieces. Now these train pieces do not come in this box. They are a new kit, I think, which is going up for pre-order at the same time. And there's this double kit, which is the Enduring Storm Vaults, like an intact one. It's a single train feature and an obstacle. It's rune locked. In your hero phase, one friendly hero within the 1 inch of this train feature can attempt to unlock the vault. If they do so, roll a die. On a 1, they take D3 mortal wounds. On a 2 to 5, nothing happens. On a 6, it's unlocked. When it's unlocked, roll a D3 and consult the table and apply the result to see what treasures are found. Apply the result to the hero that unlocked the vault. Once it's unlocked, no further attempts to unlock it have been made. You can get an Eldritch Weapon. Pick one of the hero's melee weapons, add 1 to its damage characteristic for the rest of the battle. An Arcane Scroll. For the rest of the battle, this hero can attempt to cast an Arcane Bolt spell as if they were a wizard. If they attempt, if they're already a wizard, they can cast an extra spell. And then Malign Sorcery. Immediately set up an endless spell wholly within 12 inches of this hero as if they had cast it. So you get a free Aether Void Pendulum or something out of this thing. Then your Shattered Temple. Train feature obstacle, Fickle Guardian Spirit, it's deadly and arcane. Hallowed Storm Throne, so it's like half of the vault. It's an obstacle and train feature. A Bastion of Order, Order units treated as inspiring, Chaos, Destruction, and Death units treated as being sinister instead. At the start of the battle round, roll a dice for each endless spell within 6 inches. On a 1 to 5, nothing happens. On a 6, it's immediately dispelled. In addition, each time a unit wholly within this train feature is affected by a spell or endless spell, roll a die. On a 6+, ignore the effects. Then your Sigmarite Dais. It's a train feature and obstacle. Bastion of Order. Again, the Order units think it's inspiring. Everybody else thinks it's sinister. And the Time War and Ruin. I'm excited about this train feature. It's super cool. And it looks like it's going to come with a new Warcry box. Vengeful Spirits. It consists of 10 Ruin models. They must be set up within 1 inch of each other. Each Time War and Ruin counts as an obstacle. And they have to all be together, basically. It's deadly. Yeah, there you go. And that's it. So there it is, our look at the newest expansion for Warhammer Age of Sigmar, Forbidden Power. I'm excited about it. I like anything that gives me a reason to link the games that I play. I love the idea of new allegiances that are based on like the cities and stuff. It's been done before. I think it's a neat way of adding stuff to the armies that are sort of like more recent. Basically, this book took last year's armies, the Deepkin, the Fireslayers as of just recently, and the Stormcast, and just bang them all together. So if you've got collections of all those things, you got a reason to play them all. The mercenary rules are pretty crazy. Being able to take Fireslayers in any army and or ghouls in any army. I think ghouls are going to be more popular because they get free models and they can do free summons, and that's pretty bananas. So we shall see how that goes. But for the most part, I think this is going to be a neat book, and people are going to, at least, if nothing else, probably enjoy it for the endless spells. And just some neat new tech to play with. So check out the battle reports today if you want to see us playing some games in the new, I guess, the Defenders of Lethis and the, whatchamacallit, Legion of Soros, fighting for Stygics. I guess that's how it's going to be pronounced. And check out the new stuff in play too, the new spells, the new cool endless spells and train features and stuff. So hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you for more reviews in the future. Till next time, Ash. Happy wargaming. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to support the channel, of course, like and subscribe and hit the little bell below so you get notifications when I post future content. I do post stuff 7 days a week. If you want to support the channel further, you can, of course, buy a t-shirt through Spreadshirts, buy a measuring gauge or objective markers from Death Ray Designs, or, of course, most importantly, there is Patreon. Patreon is what makes all this possible, keeps the lights on, pays for the studio costs, pays for the equipment, model costs, and everything else, and most importantly, puts food in my kids' bellies and a roof over their heads. Big thanks to everyone, past, future, who supported me. I do this stuff because of you guys, and of course, I will continue doing it as long as I can.